Hello. You got booted out. I'm gonna see if I. Thank you for joining back. All right, we're gonna cross our fingers. It says it's connecting. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Third time's the charm.
Right. I guess this wind, the snow. I'm in Michigan, so
Oh,
I guess
okay.
it's affecting a little bit of the internet connectivity.
So you know all about the snow in Michigan, I'm sure. I'm in New York. I'm in the
Yes.
city, so we're having our really big snowstorm here today. And so, it's probably on both for our ends. But thank you for being very persistent.
No problem, no problem.
I am happy to have my first live with you, the Practitioner Healer Spotlight on this beautiful February 1st winter day, the first day of Black History Month. So I'm very excited to
Yes,
have this space with you today. So let's get into it, shall we? Let
absolutely.
the people know who you are and what you do. Let's start
Yep.
off with that first.
So I am Tashina Gonzalez of Viva Activa, and I am a holistic wellness coach as well as a self-development coach. So I concentrate on many of the eight different dimensions of health. So we tend to
Mm-hmm.
focus first on our physical, but I'm certified in herbal, nutrition, mindfulness, as well as holistic wellness. So I focus on helping people find natural solutions for some physical things that they may be experiencing, but also emotional support through self-care, mental support, and then even things such as goal setting and pinpointing their strengths via my self-development life coach that I do.
That is definitely a full example of holistic care, for sure. You mentioned eight dimensions of health. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the very first one again is physical, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
usually when we have something that is going wrong with us that we think of. But we also have the emotional, and those are very connected and they can affect one another, but that has to do just with your emotions and your feelings. We also
Mm-hmm.
have financial, which I collaborate with a lot of individuals that can give very direct advice. But we do have a couple of videos and resources on that as well. Super important. We also have our social, which is one of the reasons why we're doing joint lives and things of that nature.
Yes.
Even though we're closed up in the house, we still need to have interaction with people. We still get benefit from having discussions and conversations with different individuals. We also have the aspect that is very personal, individual, which is our spiritual wellness. Another thing is the occupational wellness, which has to do with your career or your calling or whatever your passion really is. And that's where a lot of my self-development comes in, is with the occupational wellness. We also then have intellectual wellness or mental wellness, just the discussions that you can have with people, doing mental activities, keeping yourself mentally sharp. And then there's environmental wellness, which
Mm-hmm.
also affects both our physical and our emotional, making
Yeah.
sure that we remove toxins, whether they are emotional or just toxins that can be in our environment, because it helps us live a more healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely. And all those components you really wouldn't think can impact your ability to heal yourself, right? So that is wonderful. And can you tell us why you started this work?
Absolutely. So most of us have gone through life with just a few minor things that we've dealt with. And a lot of the times we're told that those things are just normal and to deal with it. So as a child, I tended to be a child that they stated had a weak immune system. I also had skin issues such as eczema, would have ringworm all the time. I had respiratory issues such as asthma. So I was in and out of the hospital. And again, as a child, we were just told those were things that you dealt with and that were normal. So those
Mhm.
honestly are a couple of, one is an autoimmune disease, a skin autoimmune disease, and one is a chronic illness, asthma. And we're just told that those things are normal and to just deal with it. And that's what I did for the majority of my life. But then I reached it. I got into my early 30s and I
Mhm.
started to have lots of different issues happen one after the other. And so the first thing that I had was high blood pressure. I worked my day job in the automotive industry and I had a job that was highly stressful. And pretty much 50% of the people in my group either had high blood pressure and the other 50% had high cholesterol. And again, we just accepted it. We just, you have
Wow.
you have your 5 cups of coffee a day or you have your two neon color energy drinks and we exercised, but you get Buffalo Wild Wings once a week. You work till 8 p.m. or have some calls to 8 p.m. and then you pick up pizza once a week and you do fast food a couple times a week. And that's just normal life. That's just normal how you live. And then 6 months later, I actually started to have gut issues. So there was a
Okay.
summer that I was in and out of the hospital because I had acid reflux
Mhm.
so bad coming up that it was making me want to scream. The pain was so bad that I would go to the emergency room for it. So and each time I had this illness, I'd leave with another medication as well. So now I'm on high blood pressure medicine. I left the hospital with a new medication, as well as 5 different diseases. So I had a hiatal hernia, I had gastritis, I had holes in my stomach, I had Schlatzky's ring, and I had
Mhm.
one other thing that I was done, a esophagitis. I was starting to have some type of allergic reaction to all of my food. So 6 months after that, I started to have hormone issues. I started excessively bleeding. I had never had any issues with my hormones
Mhm.
prior to that. As long as I exercised and I ate fairly well, I really didn't have many hormone issues. My PMS was not never that bad. So the first time that I came home and I bled through my clothes. I took a shower. I sat down to do some work, and an hour later, I bled through my clothes again. I was freaking out. I went straight to the emergency room because I had never had anything
Yeah.
happen like that before.
Right.
Over the next 6 to 8 months, I found out that I had fibroids. And then I ended up having to have a minor surgery to have that. And while that was happening, I was in two
A
accidents
lot.
in 6 months, all right? Yeah, so 2012 to 2014, I had all the stuff come up. So then I had body pain. And then obviously, I went from being a very active person, very extroverted
Mhm.
person, to being introverted and
Yeah.
having all this pain. And so that obviously caused depression. And so I got to the end of 2014 and I was looking at my life and I'm like talking to other people, and almost everyone else in their 30s had hormone issues or even had already had body parts taken out. They all felt exhausted and they all had some type of body pain for some reason. And I was just like, it's not supposed to be this way. This is why does
No.
everyone in their 30s feel like their 50s? This
Mhm.
makes no sense whatsoever. And so I started to try to just Google my way to good health. And that was a slow process, but I ended up I aligned with a company that had some educational services for me, and that helped me out a lot. And I just started little by little making certain changes in my environment, taking some of the toxins out. And at the
Mhm.
time, I was spending like $200 per month on Amazon or Vitamin World. But with the company that I ended up aligning with and the education I was getting, it kind of facilitated a little bit of my learning process to the point that I was able to get off of most of the medication that I was on. And so
Oh,
I
that's
don't
great.
I did have
Wow.
physical therapy for the body pain, and I did have a myomectomy to remove the fibroid at the time. But after that, I don't have any issues, and I try to treat things with food and vitamins and supplements. And food is the
Hmm.
first line of defense. Essential oils, getting toxic free makeup, make sure all the toxins are out of your home, and then having had so much success, I wanted to share with others. So I did get an official certification in holistic wellness, and again, all the other things I mentioned earlier. And at this point in time, that's just my goal, is to provide education. And throughout all of that time, I've
Hmm.
provided education. About 4 years ago, I decided to do at least one live per week. And then 3 years ago, I started to do two lives, one in English and Spanish. And so I have
Okay.
those all now collected on my YouTube channel. So I have over 800 videos on YouTube, 150 of which are in Spanish, on things like natural ways to deal with fibroids, natural ways to reduce high blood pressure. And again, we always talk about food first. What are the foods you should avoid? What are the
Hmm.
foods that you should be eating? And what are a couple of extra things that you might be able to do in addition to exercise? Exercise makes everything better. If you're not exercising, you got to exercise. In addition to exercising and getting enough sleep, what other natural things might be supportive for whatever you're going through? And then in my holistic wellness practice, I have a couple of different just tests that I can run. We have a biometric test that will help us analyze what foods you should be avoiding and what foods you should eat. Your body
Okay.
telling us through that test, as well as where you may have some deficiencies, vitamin or mineral deficiencies, and what additional things might help you to get rid of those deficiencies. And that one is a fairly cheap one. And then I have, if somebody has a deeper chronic issue that they've been working through and they've been using certain things for, I also have a DNA test that we can send out for as well.
Okay. And then thank you for that. I wanted to just go back a little bit. You really, within a short span of years, shared, and I thank you for sharing your journey, experience your body just really, really breaking down.
Absolutely.
Every, you mentioned all these symptoms, and every part of your body really was sort of reacting to whatever it was that triggered these symptoms in you. And so, at what point in your journey, what was that? Can you pinpoint that specific point to where you decided that I needed to know more? I needed to Google my way to health because I can really see where you can going to all these different sort of specialists and not getting the answers and just being placed on all these types of medications, how that can be very defeating and can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety. And oftentimes, persons who live with chronic illnesses, they have a secondary illness of depression and anxiety as well. So,
Hmm.
was there a particular catalyst for you? I know you mentioned it a little bit. I wanted to go back to see if you could really expand on that a bit.
Yeah, so I think it was after I had several conversations with individuals and noticing that the majority around me felt that way, and just reflecting on the times that I felt well, because I did when I was in high school, and I ran track and I ate very well. I was
Hmm.
rather healthy. And I mean, I know that there's healthy people in the world. I'm like, I know it can't be everyone is like this. It's the people that are,
Hmm.
are are eating the way that I do, and the people that are in the environment that I am, that are experiencing this. But I know somewhere else in the world there's some healthy people. And so, and I also realized that I was not helping myself at the time, and I had to do the bare minimum. Like, I couldn't sit around the house and complain about pain or certain things when I wasn't even doing the minimum to exercise. And I couldn't complain about gut issues if I was going to go to Taco Bell. Like, so I had to take responsibility for my portion as well. And I just
Hmm.
started with the basics. So in September of 2014, I was on vacation and I decided to have an active vacation. I decided to go hiking and I decided to walk the Mackinac Bridge without even training. I had not done a 5K, I had not done anything,
Hmm.
and it's a 5 mile walk because I was like, I have to start somewhere. And then I did a boot camp because at the time because I was so sedentary, I was like 195 pounds and I'm 5'4" and I'm petite. So I was clinically obese for what my size is. And so I did a boot camp to lose like 20 pounds in 6 weeks to motivate myself. And I started signing up for 5Ks because I'm like, if I sign up for a 5K, at least I'm going to try attempt to exercise because when it gets close, I'm be like, oh, it's going to be really painful if you don't, if you don't train a little bit.
Yeah, you can't go from zero to 3.1 miles. I'm
Yeah.
also a runner too, so I understand that.
Nice. So yeah, I think it was
Hmm.
that those conversations and self-reflection in September of
Hmm.
2014
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
made me decide that, yeah, I gotta research, I gotta Google, I gotta find some advocates to help me because I just don't think it's supposed to be this way.
And so, did you find an advocate, and or you didn't, and that's what led you on this journey to providing these services?
So I did find some advocates in some areas, and but there wasn't enough. There definitely wasn't enough, and especially for the reason that you and I are connecting, there wasn't a lot for people of color, and there were certain things like hormone issues, fibroids, high blood pressure that when I did have a mentor at the time, and her entire family from her grandparents down have always been natural and crunchy, and her father is one of the owners of the one of the local health food stores that we have here, the Better Health Store. There's like 10 all over the Metro Detroit area. And I learned a lot from her. Tons and tons and tons, but she isn't a person of color. There's no one in her family that suffers from high blood pressure. There's no one in
Hmm.
her family that has had fibroids. And so I did have to get multiple sources. And then the other thing is my platform is for people who are like me, which are busy
Hmm.
professionals that really don't have a lot of time. And so my Feel Good Fridays that I do are from 5 to 15 minutes long. So like if you want to
And so,
learn,
what does that entail? Your Feel Good Friday.
those are the videos that have those titles that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
So I do one
Okay.
in Spanish first and then I do it in English. And this honestly, this entire past year I've done more on emotional things as well. So, the power of having an attitude of gratitude, or how to deal with toxic people. So that will go under my category of mental wellness or emotional wellness. And so
Okay.
a lot of those topics, again, were more focused. I couldn't find just a very quick informational, especially for people of color, that would give me the information I need. So that was one of the reasons why I felt the need to create a platform as well.
Well, I thank you for doing so. Oftentimes, within the challenges of, abruptly becoming sick, or the lifelong challenges that you deal with a chronic illness or a disability, you find your way to purpose. So I'm very happy that you were able to journey to a healthier life and find your way to help other people, based on your experiences. And so if somebody wanted to get services from you, how could they contact you?
So if they go to my profile, which you can see Sweet Canella 5, I do have my milkshake link there. And so if you click on that, you'll find a way to get on my calendar. You will find a way to see any of my YouTube videos. There's different pages on that virtual website that you'll be able to contact me and follow me.
And is there anything that you want to leave for people to take away about your journey as a advocate and warrior, your journey as a healer, practitioner, anything that you want to leave here in this virtual space?
Yep, just keep reaching out because life can be better. Like I've met so many amazing people in this journey. Life is never going to be perfect. Um, but you don't have to suffer. You don't have to be usually you don't have to be bedridden. And it's gonna take years to undo the things that we did that took years. But if you at least start and work with some professionals and educate yourself and always work with your doctor. I have a doctor's appointment. I see a functional doctor, I see a normal MD, I see a gynecologist. Always work with those professionals, but at the same time, advocate for your health, find natural solutions, always use food as medicine, and I promise you 2 years from now, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, you will look back at your life and be like, I don't even remember feeling like that. And you will have an elevated sense of wellness, even if you still have to deal with chronic pain, chronic diseases. You are able to have increase your quality of life.
And I guess that's the important takeaway, right? You can still have a life worth living. You can still thrive with the challenges that come with living with a chronic illness and disability. And it's really finding ways, and I know within the societal structure, it is really very hard to be able to do so, in finding ways to prioritize your health. And one of the ways is to connect with somebody who can help you along that journey, like yourself, and understand the complexities, the challenges, and then also, be able to have that support while you're journeying to the optimal wellness that you can achieve for yourself. And representation really does matter. I know
Yes.
that is a different conversation, a
Right.
longer conversation, but it really does matter in the fact, with my own experiences, I work very hard to create a team of support for me in terms of my practitioners and healers, and I can really testify to the difference between the interactions I had with a provider that didn't look like me and one that did. I feel very much seen and heard, um, in those spaces where there is cultural sensitivity and there is diversity and inclusion. So that is my experience, and I appreciate you providing space to be able to offer that to people.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
And thank you for the
I look,
opportunity.
you're welcome, and thank you for sharing your story, sharing your journey. I'm looking forward to seeing all the people that you help with your experience
Thank you.
and
Thank
your
you.
knowledge. Okay. Take care. Be well.
You too.
Stay
Good night.
warm.
Yes.
Good night.